The Galactic Star Council chamber was full of noise. Tall beings, glowing forms, and armored figures filled the wide circular hall. Giant screens showed the image of Earth, small and blue, hanging in silence. Around the chamber, many council members laughed openly. "Humans," one council lord said. "A young species from a weak system." Another voice echoed with amusement. "They still fight wars using metal and fire. Why are they even here?" At the center of the hall stood a single human delegate. He was small compared to the others. He did not raise his voice. He did not react to the laughter. He simply waited. The council leader leaned forward. His voice was sharp and cold. "Humanity has crossed restricted space. You will submit to council law, or your world will face consequences." More laughter followed. Some members shook their heads. Others turned away, already bored. The human delegate finally spoke. His voice was calm, almost gentle. "Before you decide," he said, "we ask that you observe." The room grew quieter, but the smiles remained. A scientist near the sensor pit suddenly froze. "Chair, I am detecting unknown signals," she said. "They are not using standard matter." Several council members laughed again. "Faulty equipment," someone said. Then the screens flickered. Numbers scrolled too fast to read. Energy readings spiked, then vanished. Space itself seemed to darken behind the image of Earth. The laughter slowly died. "Rerun the scan," the council leader ordered. "We did," the scientist whispered. "Twice." Silence filled the chamber. Something was approaching from deep space. Something massive. Something the sensors could not explain. And the human delegate remained perfectly still, as if he had expected this moment all along. The silence inside the Star Council chamber became heavy. The massive screen stopped flickering and stabilized. What appeared on them made no sense at all. Long, dark shapes moved slowly through space. They reflected no light. They gave off no heat. The council scientists rushed to their stations. "These readings are impossible," one of them said. "The mass is too high, yet gravity remains stable." Another analyst shook his head. "Energy output is 0. But something this large should be tearing space apart." The council leader stood up. His voice was no longer calm. "What are we looking at?" No one answered at first. The human delegate finally spoke again. "You are looking at our fleet." Murmurs spread through the chamber. A few council members laughed nervously, trying to hide their fear. "That cannot be," one elder said. "Those ships are not made of normal matter." The human nodded slightly. "They are not." The scientists ran the scans again. Then again. Each time, the same result appeared. Dark matter. Controlled. Shaped. Used as structure, armor, and power. "That is forbidden science," a council member shouted. "No species can survive such experiments." "We did not survive," the human replied calmly. "We adapted." The largest object moved closer on the screen. Its surface was smooth and black, like a piece of night carved into shape. No engines burned. No weapons glowed. Yet every sensor screamed danger. The council leader's hands trembled. "Is it a weapon?" The human paused before answering. "It can be," he said. "But today it is only here to be seen." At that moment, one section of the dark ship shifted. Something inside it awakened. And across the chamber, every warning system turned red at the same time. Red warning lights filled the Star Council chamber. Alarms screamed, then suddenly went silent, as if something had muted them. The dark ship on the screen did not move, yet the feeling of pressure grew stronger. The council members were no longer laughing. The human delegate watched them carefully. His face showed no pride, no anger, only calm. "Long ago," he said, "humanity faced extinction. The screens changed. Old images appeared. Burning cities, broken planets, empty space where Earth's colonies once existed. The council watched in uneasy silence. "We were weak," the human continued. "Our enemies were stronger. Our science was slower. We had two choices, disappear or change." The images showed secret laboratories hidden deep in space. Humans working in darkness, surrounded by symbols of unknown science. "We studied what others feared," the human said. "Dark matter was not a weapon to us. It was a problem that needed an answer. A council scientist whispered, "No species has ever controlled it." The human nodded. "That is why no one expected us to succeed." The images shifted again. Ships forming inside artificial voids. Black holes locking into place like shadows becoming solid. "We lost worlds," the human said softly. "We lost billions. But we learned." The council leader lowered his voice. "You hid all of this?" "Yes," the human replied, "because the galaxy laughs at weakness, and we could not afford to be laughed at again." The screen returned to the present. The dark ship now filled the entire display. A low pulse spread through space. "Not an attack. Not yet." The human took a slow breath. "What you see now," he said, "is not our past. It is what stands between you and extinction." The Star Council chamber shook as new alerts appeared. A junior commander shouted from his station, "An energy spike is forming near the dark ship." "It is not directed at us," another voice said. "It's spreading outward." The council leader turned sharply toward the human delegate. "Call it off," he demanded. "Now." The human did not move. "This is not an attack," he said calmly. "It is a demonstration." Before the council could respond, the screens changed again. The view shifted to a distant star system, empty, cold, and unclaimed. No worlds. No life. A council scientist whispered. "Why that system?" "Because no one will die," the human replied. The dark matter warship finally moved. There was no flash, no sound, no explosion. Space itself bent. A thin wave of darkness passed through the distant system. The star dimmed, then folded inward like a dying ember. Planets vanished without breaking apart. They were not destroyed. They were erased. The council chamber fell into absolute silence. Several members collapsed into their seats. Others stared in disbelief, unable to speak. "That power," the council leader said slowly, "could unmake an empire." The human nodded once. "Yes." The sensors showed nothing left. No debris, no radiation, not even dust, only emptiness. The human stepped forward slightly. "What you witnessed was not a weapon test," he said. "It was a boundary." The council leader's voice trembled. "And if we cross it?" The human looked up at the towering figures around him. "Then the next demonstration," he said quietly, "will not be empty." The screens went dark, and for the first time in its long history, the Star Council had no response at all. The Star Council chamber felt smaller now. No one laughed. No one spoke. The great hall that once echoed with power was filled with fear. Council members avoided looking at the screens, as if the darkness might return. A senior elder finally stood. His voice shook. "We were wrong about humanity." Others nodded slowly. Some transmitted emergency messages to their home worlds. Fleets were recalled. Borders were closed. The council leader turned to the human delegate. "What do you want?" he asked. The human answered without hesitation. "Peace." The word caused confusion. "You could rule the galaxy with this power," one member said. "Why choose peace?" The human looked around the chamber. "Because we remember what it is like to be helpless," he said, "and we will not become what once hunted us." The council argued among themselves. Old alliances cracked. Ancient rivals blamed each other for pushing humanity too far. A vote was called. One by one, the lights changed color. Surrender, agreement, acceptance. The final count appeared. The Star Council recognized humanity as a protector species. The council leader lowered his head. "Will you lead us?" he asked. The human paused. "No," he said. "We will stand watch." The dark matter warships began to move again, not toward the council world, but outward toward the edges of the galaxy. Fear slowly turned into relief. As the human turned to leave, he spoke one last time. "Remember this day," he said, "not because we threatened you, but because we chose not to." The chamber remained silent long after he was gone. The galaxy did not celebrate. There were no parades, no great speeches, no flags raised in victory. Instead, there was silence, deep and lasting. Across known space, the dark matter warships took their positions. They did not patrol openly. They did not threaten. They simply existed, like shadows at the edge of every star map. Wars began to slow. Pirate fleets vanished without warning. Border attacks stopped overnight. Old empires paused their expansions and chose caution over pride. On the Council world, the Great Chamber remained unchanged. The seats were the same. The screens were the same. But the laughter was gone. The Council leader often stared at the empty space where the human delegate had stood. The memory of calm eyes and quiet words haunted him more than the power of the ships. Humanity did not rule the stars. They returned to their systems, rebuilding what had once been lost. Worlds destroyed long ago were remembered, not forgotten. Children grew up learning stories, not a conquest, but a survival. Among the smaller species, something new appeared. Hope. They no longer feared sudden invasion. They no longer lived under the shadow of ancient empires. Someone was watching now, someone who remembered pain. In time, the Star Council recorded the event into its archives. The title was simple: The Day the Galaxy Fell Silent. The final entry ended with a single line: Humanity never wanted to be feared. They only wanted to make sure no one laughed again. And in the endless dark between the stars, the silent warships remained, guardians, not rulers, of a galaxy that had finally learned respect.